Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Alexander's Reptiles, and today, accompanied with me, I have Hunter Houck.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me, Alexander.
No problem. Thank you for coming on. If you are new to my channel, this is my talk show. Right, it says podcast right here, but it's really a talk show. Where I'll talk to other reptile keepers just about their reptile journey um and just how about the reptile journey. That's really it. So should we get started here?
Sounds great.
All right, so we'll go down to the first slide. What is your inspiration? So when you got Peyton, why did you want to get Peyton?
Oh, so that's a great question. So I have always loved keeping animals and small pets specifically. I had several hamsters and I've always had, dogs and kind of the normal pets. And if someone's just listening, not watching, I said that in air quotes because I don't think there's such thing as like a normal pet, but I've always had the traditional pets that you hear of. And I decided reptiles sound really interesting and I wanted a lizard, but I wasn't quite sure what. So I did a lot of research and I ended up settling on a leopard gecko. And that's probably the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, same with me too. I love Frodo, my leopard gecko. Uh,
Yeah.
um, all right, so if we go to our next slide here, how do you feel? How do you feel about caring for Peyton, Pippin, Prada, River, Persephone, and Briar?
Well, that's a great question. So, it definitely is having this many animals is an intense task, and it does take a lot of my time. Some days it's 1 hour, some days it's 6 hours, and some days it's 12 hours, just depending on what projects I have going on with them.
Yeah,
Plus, at all times, I usually have a foster or two, and right now I have a foster snake and a foster leopard gecko. So, and two other reptiles that the channel hasn't actually met yet. So, if
oh
you want,
yeah.
I can kind of share that secret with you on your talk show.
Sure, if you want to.
Sure thing.
Uh,
So I have actually an amphibian, a tiger salamander that only has one eye, and that I'm getting ready to introduce on the channel within the next couple of weeks. And then a green anole that was accidentally sent to me in an insect shipment for feeder insects. So yeah, a couple of animals that just kind of fell into my lap, and I'm happy to have them as long as I have them. I'm not sure if I'll keep them forever since I didn't like go out and get them, but have them as long as I do.
yeah, yeah. I think it's great how you're caring for all these reptiles too, and
Thank you.
amphibians. On our next slide, oh no, on our next slide, I got a picture of your bearded dragon liver.
Yeah.
How do you get your names like Liver and Pippin and Vada?
Great question. So on my phone, I have like a list of names for future animals. And I usually just, whenever I hear a name that I like, I write it down in my notes app. I'm like, hey, this is a cool name that I could name an animal. And so River, I always like nature names. And I thought that was kind of ironic because bearded dragons are from an area where there's not a ton of water. So I'm like, hey, that can be kind of funny, but also because she has blue bars on her back. And that's a genetic trait for bearded dragons. You can kind of see it in Alexander's picture here, or the picture in the notes here. But since blue is kind of the color of water, I was like, hey, that would be a good name. But for my other animals, yeah, it's typically just whatever I hear and I'm like, hey, that's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. I actually did not know about that. About the blue. I did not know about that. I think it's really.
Yeah, thanks.
And our next slide here. Um, how do you feel when you get one? Like, when you get a reptile or amphibian that you take care of for the rest of their long lives?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for me, I'm kind of in a unique position where I foster some reptiles for Crimson Exotics. So with that, it's like, hey, I'm super excited to have this animal for as long as it takes to find them a great home. But with my personal animals, I make that commitment to them to have them for as long as I am lucky enough to have them. So whether that's, from the time I adopt them, if they're adults or if they're babies, I get to raise them and watch them their entire life. And it's definitely a feeling that brings me a lot of joy. It's something I'm very grateful to get to do for sure. But to me, like getting a new animal isn't the favorite part. To me, it's improving their care or like upgrading enclosures. That's one of the things that makes reptile keeping very rewarding for me.
Yeah. Speaking of speaking of enclosures, yesterday we got Frodo's future enclosure, his 40-gallon.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, but he won't be using that for probably about another year. I don't know. But yeah, I love uh, yeah, I just love reptiles too and amphibians, and yeah, I definitely agree. Include everything that you said.
Thank you.
And then here's like, what do you think about all their personalities? So I know that they all have different personalities. It says winding. I was wondering if you could explain all the personalities. This one might take a while, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I think every animal does have a different personality. And so Peyton, my leopard gecko, she is probably my most calm of the leopard geckos for sure. She is an adult, so she's a little older than Pippin. And of course, she's had more time to settle down. But also, Pippin, she's a blizzard, and they're known for being a lot more active. So they like to move around instead of just sitting. So if I want an animal that I can hold still for a while, I'll get out Peyton. But if I want an animal that I can watch move around and that kind of thing, I'll usually get out Pippin, my other leopard gecko. And so as far as like snakes go, Briar is the only permanent snake that I have. And she's one that is usually pretty calm. She's great with handling. The amphibians, of course, they're typically not great with handling since they absorb everything through their skin. So when I handle them, if I'm going to be handling them for a long time, I typically wear gloves, but I try to keep that to a minimum. But I'd say that all of my animals are pretty food motivated, especially the amphibians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally don't tongue feed. But I'm maybe someday I will, but I don't. I've heard it's pretty good to tongue feed, but right now with Frodo, we just have a little bowl, and
Mhm.
he'll eat out of his black soldier lullaby. Because actually,
Yeah.
out on the back, so we have a composter, and it turns out even before I knew what a leopard gecko was, we have had black soldier lullaby, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
Um. So, oh, I just inserted a picture. I just did this for fun. Just added all these pictures. Um, so your future leopard, I mean future reptiles. So are you planning on getting any future reptiles or amphibians? If it's a surprise and you can't tell us, that's totally fine.
No, that's a great question. So right now, I don't have any plans for future reptiles, but that said, there's always a possibility. I would love in the future to get a crested gecko or some other species of New Caledonian gecko, but I don't have any solid plans right now. I would also love to get another colubrid snake or maybe a Kenyan sand boa or something, but right now there's no solid plans for future reptiles because I don't want to get any more permanent animals. So of course, other than fosters, because I don't really get to choose when they come in. It's kind of whenever they need me. But permanent animals, I want to wait until I have everyone that I currently have upgraded into their permanent enclosures.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I don't, speaking of your fostering and stuff with Crimson Exotics, I think that's also
Yeah,
just really cool how you do that too. Just foster them, give them a home.
thank you.
And then you were able to ship them to someone else for them to have a better home.
Yeah, I actually have some reptile shipping boxes. Let me make sure I'm not about to reveal my address. No, I'm not. Oh, it's kind of blurred, but this is what, yeah, it's blurred. Sorry, but this is what a reptile shipping box looks like and stuff for anyone who doesn't know. I guess it's kind of blurred, but there are several videos on my channel, so you can go check them out. But yeah, reptiles, they can be safely shipped pretty much anywhere in the United States overnight, and it's definitely a pretty fun thing that I'm able to do.
Yeah. I Speaking of also your fosters, I think Saklon was a really cool leopard gecko foster. Really,
Yeah.
really beautiful too. I love the patterns and stuff.
Well, thank you. Yeah, he's a very pretty leopard gecko. Um, he is going to his new home on Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah,
So I'm
October.
gonna miss him.
Yeah. Oh, so he's still at your house?
Yeah, he is for just a couple of more days. He's going to his permanent home on October 5th. And yeah, I just have to wait until the weather is perfect. And that's a day when it's going to be perfect
Yeah.
in my location in Memphis, Tennessee, where the layover is, and in Florida, where he's going.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you gotta make sure the weather's good because you don't want the car to crash or anything because that wouldn't be good.
No, for sure.
But really, everyone, the driver and the reptile or amphibian. Or
Yeah.
you also foster rodents, right?
So Crimson Exotics, in the past, we have fostered two mice named Salt and Pepper, but those weren't mine. That was Emma, our Minnesota foster, who had those. We try not to take in rodents unless we have to, but sometimes it is a situation where someone really needs to rehome them. And in that case, if we have a foster who's willing to take them and is in a close enough location, we will. But you can't really ship them. You could, but it would be super expensive. So we try to stick with reptiles and amphibians.
Yeah, yeah. I totally understand, especially because yeah, it is pretty expensive. For
Yeah.
our next slide here, how have you changed from now to getting when you got Peyton?
Oh, great question. So when I first got Peyton, my reptile care was not the greatest by any means. And I think that's the case with a lot of new reptile keepers. I kept her in a 20-gallon enclosure, which is pretty small for an adult leopard gecko until she was an adult, at which time I upgraded her into a 40-gallon and then an even larger enclosure. But yeah, I had just kind of a boring enclosure. I didn't have very much enrichment in there. And also I mainly fed her just a couple of feeder insects, whereas now I feed a variety, which is super important. So they're getting all the right nutrients. But yeah, I've just improved and focused more on naturalistic care and giving them what they need to exhibit natural behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. Like just change after taking care of all these reptiles. I think it's really cool how these reptiles and amphibians can really change you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going off topic a bit, I do want to ask, how often do you usually feed your reptiles and amphibians hornworms?
Hornworms. Oh, that's a great question. So typically I order hornworms every time or every other time that I get new feeder insects. And I typically place a feeder insect order once a month. I go look at what I have, and then I make a plan for what I'm going to need. And then I always add on a few extras because just in case I get in a foster that's going to need some, or one of my animals decides they're a little extra hungry that month. But so I usually get a dozen hornworms. And so they each get a couple of them about once a month. But yeah, they're nice, and
Yeah,
I'd say they're a good treat. They're probably not the best staple because they are kind of
very,
expensive.
and they're very watery.
Yeah, yeah, which is good if you have a dehydrated reptile, but sometimes that can kind of mess with their stomach if you give them too many.
Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering because I'm thinking maybe for Christmas or something I might give Frodo a hornworm.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, because I think the like in a certain season outside my backyard there's some hornworms maybe.
Oh, so actually be super careful with that. You shouldn't
Oh,
feed any hornworms from outside because actually outside in the wild they eat tomato plants and that actually causes them to be poisonous. So that would kill your leopard gecko.
yeah.
So you,
Thank you for
yeah, you
that.
have to make sure they're captive bred. And of course, it's never a great idea to feed any insect from outside because they typically have parasites that can be passed on to your leopard gecko.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, Yeah, speaking of tomatoes, I think we're starting to grow tomatoes again because a while ago we were growing tomatoes. Homegrown tomatoes are the best, especially the really small ones. They're just so good, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Those are good.
Yeah, we're starting to grow them again because the other day my dad brought me one and it was so good.
Nice.
Uh, our next slide. Most of these pictures were taken by my dad. 'Cause
Cool.
he takes a lot of these pictures of reptiles outside. This So if you could get any reptile, what would it be? Like any for free?
Oh, great question. So I am constantly on the lookout for a Sheltopusik or European legless lizard or glass lizard. That's all the same species. They just have a lot of names, but they are. Have you seen the picture of me holding a legless lizard at Snake Discovery?
I did not see that. I did watch your video. I did vote for you on that poll.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so legless lizards, I can find a picture here, but they're super awesome. I really enjoy them. So if I could get any reptile, it would have to be that. Let me pull up a picture right now if it's gonna let me. Uh-huh. Here
Yeah.
we go. Um,
Oh,
yeah, are you able to see that?
oh yeah, I think I did see that. I did. That's really cool.
Yeah, so they're pretty cool. They're just a lizard that don't have any legs.
That kind of looks like an eel, I think.
Yeah, kind of. And I think that made you stop screen sharing. So sorry about that. But if you want
Ah,
to,
it's fine.
perfect. But yeah, to answer your question, a legless lizard, a European legless lizard specifically, would be my absolute dream animal. So I'm looking high and low for one.
Yeah, that is really cool. I think they look pretty cool too. Uh,
Yeah, and they have really interesting diets. It's similar to a blue tongue skink, but less plant matter, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Next here, I think, what do you enjoy the most about all your reptiles and amphibians?
Great question. So, what do I enjoy most about them is, yeah, that's a great question. I think my favorite thing is recreating the wild in captivity. So making them enclosures, like for example, I just made my plains hognose briar an enclosure, and she's going in as soon as she finishes shedding.
Yeah, that looked amazing. I saw that. That looked absolutely amazing. That
Thank
actually,
you.
yeah, that inspired me because I Floto's terrarium right now, it doesn't look that natural. So for this next 40 gallon, I'm gonna me and my dad are gonna work on it and we are going to make it look a bit more natural. But of course, no loose
That's
substrate.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
actually, so if you for an adult leopard gecko, I would always recommend loose substrate,
Oh,
as long as you use a safe one. So there are a couple of brands, mainly Josh's Frogs Desert Biobedding is the one that's safe because it has small particles. So if your leopard gecko did accidentally ingest some, it wouldn't get impaction.
oh,
But yeah, so I would recommend that as a safe loose substrate, as long as you provide an area, for example, like a piece of slate or a piece of tile in one of the corners where you can feed them so that they're not going to accidentally risk getting that. But for adults, of course, maybe when they're over 8 or 10 months. But for babies, I would still recommend like paper towel as a substrate.
yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah. Because I don't really, um, yeah, I don't really use any loose substrate for him because as soon as I learned about compaction, because I believe it was a couple months ago when I was learning about how to care for him, I watched a video that said 10 things not to do with your baby leopard gecko, I think.
Mhm.
And I think that's what it's called. I think there's 6 things. And one of them made me figure out about compaction. So now, pretty lucky I figured that out.
Yeah, with babies, it's never a good idea. But for adults, it just goes along with, like I mentioned earlier, giving them the ability to practice as many natural behaviors as possible. And one of those is digging. So for adults, I think it's a good idea. But babies, definitely better to stay safe.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you just don't want them to get compaction because it'll cost a lot because vet visits and I think most likely it'll probably kill you, leopard gecko.
Yeah, it definitely can. It's not as common as it is made out to be, but yeah, typically impaction isn't caused by loose substrate exclusively, but rather poor husbandry in general.
Yeah. Here on the next slide, I forgot what this one was. I think I took this picture.
Awesome.
What are your goals for reptile keeping on your channel?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for that. So, goals. I have a lot of goals. So I definitely want to do something to make reptile keeping my full-time job. And I want to do that in a way that helps improve the reptile hobby. So my videos that I make, that is my main passion. I love making videos that teach people how to give a better life to their reptiles and amphibians while also entertaining them. But also I want to do more. I would love to launch a product line of reptile products. Right now, I have, of course, Shop Hunter Houck, my business where I sell like mugs and that kind of thing. You kind of see it here. But yeah, I'm getting ready to launch another product line in October, and then on Black Friday I'm launching my 2022 Reptiles Unfiltered Calendar, which is a project that I do every year. But long term, I would love to have a business where I do shows and stuff to educate people about reptiles.
Yeah, that's with my channel too. I just to make sure that reptiles can and amphibians can live the best life possible and teaching people how.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because yeah. And I just think that we need to just make sure we just need to just make the world a better place for them and really all animals too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Next down here is how long are you planning to be taking care of reptiles and amphibians for your life?
I right now can't ever think of a time when I would not want to have reptiles and amphibians in my life.
Yeah, I totally understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of just really all animals are amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I love that we get to help reptiles and amphibians through like what I'm doing with Crimson Exotics, but also just getting animals in. Like anyone can do it. If you see an animal that's in bad care or something being rehomed, you can take it in and help give it a better life. And that's always something that can bring you a lot of joy and a lot of meaning to reptile keeping for sure.
Yeah, just a good feeling. Uh,
Absolutely.
uh, what is your favorite reptile amphibian that you keep now? If you can't choose, that's just completely fine.
So I feel like a lot of people, this is a tough question because they're like, ooh, I really like this and I really like this. But for me, it's an easy question. Now, I love every species of reptile that I keep, but I can't imagine a time when I don't have a leopard gecko. They are just one of my favorite reptiles. They're super easy. I don't want to say super easy to care for because you shouldn't go out and like impulse buy one, but they're relatively easy to care for and they're just super rewarding. They're calm, easy to handle, and all the good things that you can ask for in a reptile.
Yeah, Frodo is getting much better when I'm handling him.
Yeah.
He used to be very hard, but he's getting much better. He's still a bit skittish just because he's still a juvenile, but he's getting much better. I've started to let him kind of get on my shirt a bit and crawl around me.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay. I think your next slide is so just we can talk about whatever we want, just talk about each other, like whatever we want to talk.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess, do you have any questions?
Um, how did you how did you change your channel from your vlogging Our Life in the Mountains channel to your reptile and amphibian channel?
That's a great question. I guess I'll answer your question with a question. Have you been around, or like, have you been watching my channel since the Our Life in the Mountains days?
I have not. I actually started watching it just a couple months ago, but I have been watching a lot of them.
Okay, cool. So back in the Our Life in the Mountains days, I don't even know how many of the Our Life in the Mountains videos are still up on the channel. There are some that are up, but most of them have been taken off the channel because I guess they just weren't the quality of videos that I want to be producing. And I didn't see a way that I could scale that. So there were only so many videos that I could make of me like just doing random things. But then when I started keeping reptiles, I was like, oh, this is my absolute passion. And so I quickly had the realization that those were the kind of videos that I loved making the most and that I could never get bored of making. So that's kind of why I decided to switch from Our Life in the Mountains, which was like a family vlog channel style thing, but then to Hunter Houck, because then I can kind of have that personal brand where I make reptile and amphibian content with a couple of things thrown in.
Um, yeah. Just making those type of videos. It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long have you been making videos?
Well, my reptile and amphibian channel started basically just a couple days after I got photo. And that was just a couple months ago. Haven't had a video yet. Um,
Okay, cool.
about I think 3 months now. Yeah, 3 months ago. It was it's really and then I was like, yeah, I really like doing this because it's fun to teach people
Mhm.
and be able to show photo on camera and just show how cool
Yeah,
it is.
that's awesome.
Yeah. I do want to ask, besides reptiles and amphibians, do you have any other animals?
Other animals. So I have a cat. Well, our family has a cat and three dogs, but my personal animals are all reptiles and amphibians.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you showed your cat on camera once. I remember that.
Yeah, I did. She got her own discount code for Shop Hunter Houck.
Oh yeah. Um, so what do you usually do off camera?
Oh, so that's a great question. Honestly, all of my various reptile and amphibian projects and then the different businesses surrounding that do take up most of my time. So when I'm not doing school stuff or reptile and amphibian stuff, I guess that's just kind of mainly what I do.
Yeah,
That's what most of my products are tied into.
yeah. Yeah, I imagine it's very busy. Because you also do
Yeah.
manage a podcast too, right?
Oh yeah, Reptilian Ramble. We just released the first episode of season 3, and so this season is going to be a little different than our past ones. Typically we would upload one episode a week, but this time we're gonna upload 10 more episodes of the show. Well, 9 more episodes now. Um, and just kind of whenever we get a chance to interview someone who interests us, but it's not going to be super scheduled. But if you mean Reptile Coffee Club, because that's another like YouTube talk series that I do, that one I have no plans of stopping anytime soon because I absolutely love it. I love getting to speak live with my favorite people in the reptile community, and I have a couple of interviews coming up that we're planning behind the scenes right now, and I'm very lucky to be or to have a awesome co-host for some of the upcoming episodes.
Oh yeah. Um, you've had like 3 Reptile Coffee Club episodes, right? Three?
Oh, let me count. So I had first one that was kind of just me talking about the show, and then I had one with
Gracie?
Gracie from EFG Exotics, and then I've had two with Emma from Emmy's Pets actually, and
Yeah.
then one with Zoe from ZA Reptiles. So I've had five right now.
Yeah, this is my second episode of my talk show, actually.
Awesome. Yeah, I watched part of the first one that you did with your dad that you sent to me.
Thanks. Yeah. That one, since we were like in the same spot and not on Zoom, it was actually harder to edit just because what we had to do was we had to record the video and then we had to make a screen recording going on the same time of the actual slides and me clicking it.
Hmm.
And then we had to figure out how to, on iMovie, we had to figure out how to
Oh
put
yeah.
a face cam on there. And yeah, so that took like, I'd say maybe 40 minutes to do it all, maybe more. I just,
Yeah, yeah, sometimes videos do take quite a while to edit. My most recent video of me like making Briar my plains hognose enclosure, I want to say that one took 6 hours to edit.
yeah, especially because you had a cold and you couldn't really talk, right?
Yeah, so I was filming everything with this lovely little microphone. So I was just filming everything and then I had to kind of go back in and do voiceovers after the fact.
Yeah. What I actually film with right now, I just film with my phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Um, and yeah, so I actually started off when I like Frodo was not my first reptile, surprisingly, because I actually had a house gecko for a day, but then it was in a little bottle, so I decided to let him go free because I didn't really have anything to care for him. And
Mhm.
then I cared for a female anole for a little while in a little terrarium, and I mean I think, and then she escaped, which was actually good for her because I mean, it's better because I don't think I took the best care of her. I mean, we we gave her food. I think it's just we didn't really have the proper terrarium and lighting. I think,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah,
I
well,
think
yeah.
yeah, and then I think yeah, her name was Nagini, and I think she left like a year ago, and then so basically like a year later, I got Frodo, my forever reptile until for like as long as he lives, which I hope he can live a long, healthy life.
Yeah,
Uh,
cool.
so is there anything else you want to say? Or
Oh, so great question. I guess, do you have any other questions for me?
I do not really. I don't have any more questions.
All
Uh,
right. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
yeah. Thank you for coming. So bye, Hunter. I I hope you enjoyed doing this, and I just really enjoyed this too. And
Thank you.
uh,
Yeah, this was awesome.
yeah, I inserted this little picture in a while back. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks
Uh,
again to you for having me. I really appreciate it. This was awesome. And everyone, I'll probably share this once you have it up. Let me know so I can share it and I will make sure that everyone can come and watch it. And so, everyone, be sure to subscribe to Alexander's channel because he's doing great things. And I'm excited to see how your reptile care keeps growing and what you do in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, all right, well, I think we'll wrap this up here. So bye, Hunter. I hope you have a great day, and maybe someday I'll see you again. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
And just thank you for joining again.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Um,
This was fun.
and yeah, also one more thing. Everyone
Mhm.
subscribe to Hunter's channel. It'll probably be in the link in the description below on my if you go over there and just go subscribe to his channel because it's amazing and I really like it.
Well, thank you
Um,
very much.
so I think we'll be wrapping this up here. So I'll stop the recording here. So bye.